Let me ask you a question. If I told you that buying a 3 crore house could end up costing you 8 crore or even 10 crore over your lifetime, would you believe me? Most people wouldn't. Because when we think about buying a house, we think about the price, maybe the EMI, maybe the interest. Almost nobody thinks about what comes after. The car that suddenly feels too old, that furniture that suddenly feels too cheap, the school that suddenly feels right for the neighborhood, the restaurants, the holidays, the lifestyle. The truth is that the most expensive thing about a metro house isn't the house itself, it's the chain reaction that it creates. And if you're pursuing financial independence, that chain reaction could quietly add crores to your fire number. Today, I want to show you the true cost of a metro house. Not the sticker price, not the EMI, the real cost. In money, in years, and in freedom. The sticker price is a lie. Let's take a 3 crore home in Bangalore. A perfectly normal 2 or 3 bedroom apartment in a good, decent society. Okay, maybe not luxury, but just successful. The kind of place many professionals aspire to own today. Now, most people stop their calculation at the purchase price. That's the first mistake. Because the price tag is not the cost. The cost is everything that follows. Let's start with the loan. Assuming you pay 20% in down payment, so the remaining 80%, which is close to 2.4 crore, you're borrowing from the bank. Now, a loan at an interest rate of roughly 9%, which is the prevailing rate right now, over 20 years, the EMI comes out to be approximately 2.16 lakh per month. Over 20 years, you will pay approximately 5.18 crores for a house that you purchased for 3 crores. Yes, you paid 5.18 crore. The interest alone was 2.78 crore. But even that isn't the real cost. Because the moment you buy the house, something else begins, a chain reaction. An invisible financial cascade starts. And this is where most fire calculations go wrong. Nobody buys a 3 crore apartment and changes nothing else. The apartment changes everything around it. The furniture suddenly feels outdated, the car looks a little old in the parking lot, the school options change, the social circle change, the weekend habits change, the restaurants change, the vacations change from domestic to international. The standard of what feels normal changes entirely. So the house isn't the end of the spending, it actually becomes the beginning. 250 years ago, French philosopher Denis Diderot described exactly this phenomenon. So the story goes, he received a beautiful scarlet dressing gown, and once he owned it, everything around him looked inadequate. So the old desk had to go along with the old chair. The old artwork in his room also did not fit the new gown, so that had to go too. So one by one, he upgraded them all, eventually spending far more than he intended and definitely far more than the value of the dressing gown. Today we call this the Diderot Effect. The metro house is the modern Indian version of that dressing gown, and it may be the most expensive dressing gown you'll ever own. By the time you add stamp duty, registration, maintenance, property tax, renovations, and upgrades over the next 20 years, that 3 crore home probably costs you 5.5 to 6 crores. And that's before we count the Diderot effect. That's before we count everything else the house persuades you to buy. Now, let's talk about what this does to your fire journey. By 2025, Mumbai's EMI to income ratio had reached roughly 47%. That is nearly half of a month's income. So, almost 47% of your monthly income was gone before you could even think about investing. Gone before you had any opportunity to create wealth, and gone before you had any choice or option in the matter. But the hidden cost is even larger because every rupee going into EMI is a rupee not compounding. Let's assume a 2 lakh monthly EMI, perfectly normal for many metro professionals today. Instead of paying that EMI, imagine investing that same 2 lakh rupees every month in a diversified equity portfolio. Now we can take roughly 12% because the market has given somewhere around 11 to 14% regularly over the last 30 years. So assuming that interest rate, after 10 years, you would have close to 4.6 crore. You extend that for the next 20 years and you would have approximately 20 crores. Even if we use more conservative assumptions, the number is still enormous compared to the house. A 3 crore property growing at 6% annually becomes roughly. Now, I'm not saying the house will not come. Now, you might say that yes, the house value will also go up. Yes, Traditionally, house prices or real estate prices in India has grown by 6% year on year. So if I take that number, I take a 6% CAGR over the next 20 years, the same 3 crore house will probably become close to 9.6 year. The house will appreciate, but so does the portfolio. The difference is in flexibility. So the portfolio gives you option. The EMI completely removes them. Here's where the Diderot effect quietly becomes a fire problem. Because the house isn't just consuming cash flow, it's increasing your required lifestyle. Let's say the new society causes 2 lakh more annual maintenance and lifestyle spending, 2 lakh more in travel, dining, and social expenses, 3 lakh more in school and associated costs. Now, if you add all of that up, that's close to 7 lakh of annual additional spending. Now, you would see, okay, fair enough, it's 7 lakh. But if you're a fire investor, you look at it in a different way, right? You look at it from your lens of withdrawal rate. Now, if I take a conservative withdrawal rate of 3% here, that same number, 7 lakh per year, becomes 7 into 33, which is close to 2.3 crores. Just one lifestyle decision, one address, one apartment. And suddenly your fire number has increased by more than 2 crores. Not because the house costs 2 crore, because the lifestyle around the house costs 2 crores now. Because you're now spending an additional 7 lakhs in the lifestyle that comes with that house. And that number multiplied by 33 is now the new corpus that you would need to do to sustain this lifestyle. Now let's talk about the real reason why people buy houses in the first place. And it isn't spreadsheet. It isn't returns either. Neither is it rental yield, right? It's got to do a lot more with our identity. The address becomes a signal, a shorthand answer to a question nobody asks directly. So how successful are you? The Bandra address, the Kormangla society, the Gurgaon catered community with the Italian name, the house becomes proof. Proof that you've made it. Proof that your sacrifice worked. Proof that you've arrived. And proof is expensive. Because once identity becomes attached to a house, the Diderot effect accelerates. The new apartment asks for a better car, the better car asks for a premium school, the social circle asks for certain restaurants, the restaurant asks for certain holidays, and each upgrade feels completely reasonable. Nobody wakes up and decides, I'm going to increase my fire number by 3 crore today. Instead, they make 100 small decisions every day. And each of these decisions are individually justified. And each one is also individually affordable. But collectively, when you add all of these individual decisions and individual expenses, collectively they add years to your working life. This is why the house is not just a property decision, it's an identity decision. And identity decisions are often the most expensive ones we make. Developers show you the clubhouse, the swimming pool, the landscape gardens. What they don't show you is the invisible bill, the extra years you'll spend working to support the lifestyle that follows. And that's why I think many people misunderstand lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation isn't usually driven by greed, it's driven by adaptation. Human beings adapt extraordinarily quickly. What felt luxurious 6 months ago becomes normal. What felt special becomes expected. And once that happens, the next upgrade arrives. Then the next one. The Diderot effect is not about spending, it's about identity. It's about the subtle pressure to make everything in your life consistent with the person you believe you've become. It's what we call keeping up with the Joneses. The metro house isn't just shelter, it's the first domino. And every domino has its price tag. A price tag measured not in rupees, but in additional years of work, but in additional years before freedom and additional years before enough. I'm not saying never buy a house, I'm saying be clear about what you're buying. If you're buying for identity, for security, for family obligation, that's legitimate and you should go for it. But know that it's going to cause you a fire delay of at least 5 to 7 years, and you need to plan accordingly for that. If you're buying as an investment, understand that the returns, net of loan interest, taxes, maintenance, and opportunity costs are rarely better than a diversified portfolio. And they come with 20 years of reduced cash flow. The alternative I recommend: rent in the city where you work and buy only when you know where you want to live permanently, which for a fire seeker often isn't the city you work in during your accumulation years. Then buy in the city you actually want to retire in at the price point that city offers. If you choose a tier 2 or a tier 3 city, that number goes down significantly. In Kochi, I could buy a good 4 bedroom house for roughly 1 to 1.5 cr, while the same will cost me close to 3 to 4 cr in Bangalore. That difference of 2 to 3 crores redirected into corpus is the money that could fund a decade of my life in fire.